Guys, this has been one of my most highly requested videos of all time. How do I know what ADC to draft in my ranked game? So if you are wondering how to draft your ADC, you're curious about matchups and all that, then this is the perfect video for you. So in this video, we're going to be covering a couple of things. We're going to be covering the ADC champions. We're going to be covering the support champions. We're going to be looking at some compositions, and then we're going to be looking at what ADC counters are the best to do. Okay, so with that, let's start off with the ADC champions. Okay, so right here, I have made categories for the ADC champions. Now, keep this in mind, guys. This is all my own personal opinion and what works for me. So obviously, people are going to have different tastes and have different ways of drafting. But if you want a good baseline on how to draft, then this will be great for you. So in the first, don't look at this as a tier list, guys. Do not look at this as a tier list. This is not a tier list. Like, this is just different categories, okay? So this is not S tier and this is F tier, okay? This is just categories, okay? So for the first category, I have the damage category, okay? If I need damage, this is what I'm going to pick. Corki, Kai'Sa, Lucian. These champions have high damage, okay? So yeah, for utility, you got Ashe, Jhin, Varus, Xayah, and MF. Okay, these have some type of utility. MF is definitely on the lower end for utility, but she does got some utility and can be very annoying. But yeah, all these ADCs have some type of utility, right? Now, late game carries. You got Zeri, Ezreal, Tristana, Vayne, Jinx, okay? In the early game, you got Caitlyn and you have Draven. Now, also Lucian can go into the early game category, but he does a lot of damage, and I like to put him here, but you can imagine Lucian in both these categories. And lastly, I have Samira in just the assassin category, but she can go into the damage category as well, but not necessarily. But yes, this is just how I want you to view the ADCs. I don't want you to see Varus as like a damage dealer, right? I don't want you to see Varus as damage or a late game carry or an early game carry. I want you to picture him as a utility. When you see Ashe, I want you to picture utility. When you think of Jhin, I want you to picture utility, okay? When you're thinking of a late game carry, I want you to be thinking of Ezreal, Zeri, Jinx, these type of champions. Early game, you should be picturing Draven and Caitlyn, okay? That is how I want you to be thinking of these ADC champs. I want you to be thinking of them in these categories, okay? All right, next up, we're going to be taking a look at the supports, okay? The supports, I also put them in categories. I do not want you to think that this is S tier and this is F tier, but in a way, yeah, but I don't want you to think of it like this. I just want you to think of them in categories, okay? So in the top tier, I have the enchanters, very good enchanters. Karma, Janna, Nami, Lulu, Yumi, Soraka. These are great enchanters, okay? Now, these are your engaged supports. You got Alistar, Galio, Rakan, Thresh, Leona, and Nautilus, okay? These are engaging supports. I mean, obviously, Nautilus can be a defensive support as well, but, these are engaging supports. Now, for the defensive supports, I have Braum, Morgana, Sona, Seraphine, Lux, and in the bots tier, which these are just trash supports overall, I put Senna, Pike, Malphite, and Blitzcrank. I don't even want you to think of these champions. All right, so these are the types of categories I want you to imagine these supports as, okay? So yeah, okay? Now, when it comes to drafting your comps, your ADC needs to fulfill the role with the composition, right? Now, obviously, it's a lot easier to draft your ADC when your teammates pick their champions first, because you can kind of see what composition you got. And also another thing comes into play is how well your ADC works with the support. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's look at the late game champions. You got Jinx, right? Jinx is a late game champion. And let's say you're a Jinx player, right? And your support picks Sona. Picking Jinx will likely lose you the entire game because you will just get mauled in the dragon lane. You do not want to go Jinx Sona ever in your life, right? So if your support takes Lulu, takes Karma, takes Janet, like these are champions you want to run Jinx with, right? Because they can provide her shield, speed boosts, just what Jinx needs, right? What Jinx needs, okay? So that's one thing. Now let's think of really insane combinations. Like, what do you want to play Lucian with? Nami, guys. Nami. When you have a Nami support, that's one of the best supports you could pick Lucian with. They have insane synergy. You could do a bunch of damage. Now, you can look at the competitive scene for really insane duo lane compositions, right? Like another popular one is playing Zeri with Lulu and Yumi, right? Those are really good combinations. Just what you want to do is do not pick a champion that does not synergize well with your support. Like, do not pick Samira with Braum. Why would you pick Samira with Braum? Braum is a defensive support. Braum wants to be kiting and protecting the carries. You want to play Samira with one of the engaged supports, right? You want to play Samira with Rakan. Rakan can engage for you so you could go in. If you're playing Samira with Braum, you're going to be complaining about how you have no one engaging for you. You know, so yeah, I mean, when I look at utility, guys, utility is one of the only ADCs that you could really play with any supports. Let's think of Jhin. Jhin can play with Karma, Nami, any of these champs. Jhin can play with any of these champs. Jhin can play with any of these champs. Jhin can play with also any of these champs, okay? So if you have a Sona, right? If you have a Sona, your only options, really, in my opinion, is damage and utility. That's your only best opportunity, right? And I'm gonna go. You could say early game champs, like, oh my god, it's actually smart for me to run these early game champs with Sona. No, when you're playing Draven, you do not want Sona. When you're playing Draven, what do you want, guys? You want Thresh, you want Leona, you want Nami, you know, you want these enchanter engagers. You do not want Braum, you do not want Morgana, you do not want these champs, right? Now you could make an argument for having Lux, but yeah, right? So when you're playing with enchanters, you want to run damage. You can run utility, but utility really depends on your whole composition. You can run late game champions, right? Early game champions and assassins. But utility champions, utility ADCs can be played with any support. They could be played with any support because they're not hyper carries. They're not early game champions. They're just utility. Varus provides poke and CC. Jhin provides CC and decent damage. Ashe provides CC and slows. Xayah provides CC as well, and MF has a slow, right? So you could play these with any supports most likely. Okay, so with knowing all that, with knowing the ADCs and their categories, the supports and their categories, and knowing that you want to pick an ADC that synchronizes well with the support, that is very important. With knowing all that information now, we're going to be looking at some compositions. So right here, I have a composition. Okay, we have Gwen, Camille, Zed, Karma. I want you to pause this video and think about what the best ADC would be to pick with this. And then I will tell you my answer. So pause it right now and think about it. All right. So when I see this comp, I see that we have Gwen that's high damage. I see Camille that has great engage and decent damage. I see Zed that has insane damage. And I see that we have a Karma. So the right answer is this composition needs utility. This composition needs utility. Why? We have Zed that does insane damage, and we have Gwen that's essentially going to be our hyper carry in the late game, right? So this team does not need me to go Ezreal, right? This team does not need me going Ezreal will not help my team. That's just me being selfish and wanting to play carry. Why would I go Ezreal? Obviously, yeah, Ezreal and Karma has good synergy, support-wise, but for the overall composition, that is not what my team needs. My team could use a Jhin, an Ashe, a Varus. That's what my team can benefit from, okay? Because we have damage, right? So look at this, right? I'm looking at this comp, and this just screams we need more utility. We need engage, right? I love Varus. I love Jhin. I love Ashe for this, okay? I love that for this composition, okay? Now, we're gonna run through another comp, right? But really quickly, I hope you guys understand that. Why would I play freaking Tristana with this comp? With Gwen's dead? Like, what? Makes no sense. You want to have utility for your teammates. Okay, so we're gonna reset this comp again, right? And we're gonna build it up from the top. Okay, I'm going random champs. So let's say we have a Garen. Let's say in the jungle we have Lee Sin. In mid lane, okay, we have Twisted Fates, and in the supports we have Leona. Okay, guys, what are we picking? I want you to pause this video and tell me what ADC you would pick. All right? Okay. The one answer, there's two types of answers in this, okay? You want to pick either a damage champion, a damage ADC, or a hyper carry ADC. So let's take a look at our list. What would that be? That would be Lucian, Kai'Sa, Corki, Zeri, Ezreal, Tristana, Vayne, Jinx. But now this is going to be really beneficial. This will help you. Okay, now we know what ADCs are our option, right? Because we do not need utility. Okay, why don't we need utility? We got Leona, we got Twisted Fate, right? We do not need more utility. This team needs damage. So let's also keep in mind, guys, we have what? A Leona in the bot lane. So do I want to play Ezreal with Leona? No. Why would you play Ezreal with Leona? That's horrible. Okay. Would you want to play Tristana with Leona? Yes. Would you want to play Vayne with Leona? No. Do you want to play Jinx with Leona? No. Would you play Zeri with Leona? You shouldn't, but Zeri is so unbelievably broken that you could actually pick her in any situation, honestly. Honestly, you pick Zeri with Leona, even though it's not optimal, but Zeri's just super broken. So, DNZio, what would you pick? Lucian and Kai'Sa or Corki? But I would mainly stick with Lucian and Kai'Sa. If my team needs damage, is screaming damage, I'm going Kai'Sa and Lucian. Kai'Sa and Lucian will make this composition infinitely better. Okay? That's how I would round out this composition. Okay, now let me think. I want to take one more look and give you guys another scenario. Okay, I'll give you guys another scenario. Okay, let me give you guys one more scenario, and I want you guys to guess what you want. Okay, let's do. Okay, we'll put that. Let's do. We got a Say we got that. And we got, let's throw, actually, let me throw, okay, let me remove that, put this guy, and let's go. Let's make this very, very easy for you guys, okay? This should be the easiest one, okay? I want you to pause this video, think in your head right now, what does this composition mean? Okay. The answer to this composition is this is another composition that needs damage. But not just damage. This composition wants a hyper carry, right? We already have a strong front line with Malphite, Jarvan, and that's also provides us good CC. We have Diana, that's a very good AP champion, and that does decent amount of damage and provides CC. And we have Enchanter Lulu. So right now, I should think in my mind, what do we need? So I need damage and a hyper carry. Let's go over here. So we see damage, but I don't really want to play these champions with Lulu. I could go Kai'Sa with Lulu, but I want to look at Zeri. I want Tristana, Vayne, and Jinx, okay? Very simple. You want late game here. You want late game, right? Your composition needs late game damage dealer, okay? With the Lulu. That combos well with the Lulu, right? You don't want to go freaking Samira, right? Why would you go Samira with, right? So that is 3 scenarios on how to pick ADCs. Obviously, guys, you're probably never getting these compositions in ranked. You're never getting these compositions in ranked, right? But they're just examples. What I want you to do is think of what your team needs. Does your team need a damage dealer? Does your team need a utility? Does your team need a late game ADC, an early game ADC, or a freaking Samira assassin? I have her literally in her own tier because she's a very interesting special champ. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to think when your team comps are rounding out and you see your comp. Just think about what your champions do. Do you have a lot of tanks? Do you need damage? Oh, do you have a lot of carries on your team, and do you need utility? You know, I want you guys to start thinking in that mindset, okay? And that should help you when it comes to rounding out your ADC, okay? And rounding out a beautiful composition in ranked, because the better comp usually wins in ranked, okay? All right. Now, with that being said, we have one more thing to talk about. Is what if you want to do a counter matchup, okay? So what does that mean? Okay, the enemy picks Vayne. Okay. So you have two options. Either pick an ADC against Vayne that is very strong, or you round out your composition well. Okay? So or hopefully you could get both worlds. But let's say there's a Vayne. What are you gonna go? You have, in my opinion, for me, there's one thing I would do. If there's a Vayne, there's two categories I'm going in. I'm picking either Draven or Caitlyn. Something early game that's strong to punch the Vayne. Or I'm going to go, I could go something damage like Lucian Kai'Sa. Or I could even run Zeri into the late game, you know, scaling. But if you want to counter matchup Vayne, you're going to go Caitlyn, Draven, Lucian. Okay? Very strong champions against Vayne early, right? That's what you're going to want to run. So if you're wondering, what are all the counters to all the ADCs, right? I do not have that list built for you, but what you could literally do is go to this website, okay? This is a League of Legends website, okay? And just type, okay, so we look at this, Caitlyn. What counters Caitlyn? Oh, you see Jhin, you see Xayah, you see Jinx, Kai'Sa. Like, these are champions you could run against Caitlyn. So if you're ever curious, like, what should I play into Draven? Boom, let's type in Draven. Boom, Draven. We got Xayah. So you should play Xayah, Ashe, Caitlyn, like MF, okay? That's what I literally want you guys to do, okay? If you're wondering what should I pick to counter what ADC, literally, this is, guys, and you know what's funny is if there was a Draven, I would either go Caitlyn or Xayah. That's the funniest part. I would actually go either of these champions, even Ashe too. So this is really spot on, you know? So if you want to use a website to counter, if you really want to counter the enemy ADC, then use this. But if you want to know how to round out your composition, then follow these type of categories, okay, and compositions, okay? So yeah, guys, that is it for this guide on how to pick the best champion in the ADC role. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more guides like this, I want you to put a thumbs up on this video. That's how you know you really enjoyed this video. And go in the comment section down below and say that you learned something and what other guide you would like to see in the future, because I am here to bring you guys knowledge. With that, we're on the road to 50K and we're super freaking close. So if you are new here, please sub up. I would extremely appreciate it. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.